Welcome to Season 4 of the Knack for Business podcast.
Question to the audience. How do you keep your marketing relevant and your career secure when AI is changing everything faster than you can keep up? Our guest will break down how AI is reshaping marketing, what skills actually matter now, and how businesses can use AI to get ahead, and why insight still wins in an automated world. Our guest today is Bernie Charlebois from Boum Strategies. He's the founder and brings a rare mix of business insight and human behavior expertise to every entrepreneur he mentors. With studies in business administration and electromechanical engineering, he has co-founded 6 businesses and guided hundreds more through launches, pivots, and everyday challenges. As an associate professor at Le City since 2011, Bernard teaches marketing, consumer behavior, digital strategy, and management, helping the next generation of business leaders understand how real value and authentic communication drive success. Known for his ability to simplify complex problems and keep entrepreneurs focused on what truly moves the needle, he supports businesses at every stage with practical strategies that attract, nurture, and convert customers. And when he's not deep into strategy, you'll find him likely on the golf course or cycling for fun. Maybe not today because the weather's not kind, but Bernard, welcome, sir. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. A second Bernie on the show. That's awesome. And what's your favorite quote or saying, sir?
So much. Yeah, 2 Bernies. That'll be not hard to handle, I hope. Yeah, my favorite quote is live as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you were to live forever. I'm a big believer. I guess I'm a student of everything. I love learning, and I try to instill that in my students as well, and my clients also. I think I'm getting on in years as well, and I think the older I get, it seems like the more I realize how little I know.
So it says you've co-founded 6 businesses. Either you're an amazing entrepreneur or you have a short attention span. One or the other.
Maybe both.
What you've learned.
I have learned so much. Some of these businesses were like 3 of them were software development for the most part. We did, yeah, all kinds of. Actually, the first one actually was just after graduating from electromechanical engineering, and I started this business with a couple of classmates, and we did technical drawing for various organizations. Canada Hydro, I think, was, if I remember correctly, we did some drawings for them and redigitized some drawings. But 3 of them were in software development, which was sort of a fascination of mine. I loved writing code. I still do occasionally, but not as much. And then from there, I sort of pivoted towards more communications type of businesses, marketing, and then on to really consulting, trying to share all of the mistakes I've made over the years, share that with new entrepreneurs so that they don't make the same mistakes.
Are you doing that same course in the City College also, doing that same effect, or teaching the young folk in that space to do the same stuff?
Well, yes. One advantage, I've had opportunities to become a full-time professor at Le Cité, but I find that I'm better if I'm an associate professor. Associate professor means that I have a maximum of 12 hours of classes a week, so that keeps me busy. I love teaching, but it gives me time to do consulting. That way I can share with my students rather than share some theoretical examples that I pick out of books and that sort of thing. I can talk to them about a client I spoke with this morning who had a particular problem. Share that with them. The kids, I say kids, but some of these people are well advanced in years as well. But the students seem to appreciate that I can share with them actual real examples from my clients.
So AI is something that you're delving into. Is the AI something that you're working with? Who doesn't work with it? But are you looking to develop elements of AI, or are you just helping people understand how the AI box functions?
A bit of, I guess, all of that. I think AI, my biggest concern being a professor and seeing these people that are training to become marketing professionals, my worry is that the AI is going to replace the entry-level jobs first. It is so easy now to replace, to write content, to do some of the grudge work, that you normally often can handle that quite well, very, very quickly, much more rapidly than an individual, a human would. So that's one of my concerns, is that my students are going to be losing their jobs, are getting grabbed up by AI. So I need to show them how to use it, for one thing, but how to use it well. Does that answer your question, Bernie? I'm not sure if I.
Yeah, no, it's just I was just trying to get a sense of where you are in the AI space. Yeah, like some people write the code, right? Some people
Yeah,
use
no,
AI or agentic models
yeah.
to bring things together, and then other people are going, oh, by the way, you have SEO, now we have AEO, and now you have GEO, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, more optimizations.
Yeah,
Where will it
yeah.
end?
No, I'm not in the writing code to create AI algorithms. I'm not. That's above my pay grade. So what I do is I use AI tools that are available to me. Standard ChatGPT obviously is a favorite of my students. The Copilot, Gemini, Grok. So those are I tend to use with my students, and as well for some of the work that I need to do for some clients. Although I do tell them, if I use AI, I do tell my clients that I have used it. There's a certain authenticity that I think is very important in business. Always try, or not tried, but an effort to be authentic with my clients. We all deserve that. I think it's just fair that if we do use AI, I mean, tasks that would normally take me or take one of my contractors a day can be done in AI in a matter of minutes. So I guess I wouldn't sleep well at night if I were to charge 8 hours for something that has actually taken 30 minutes. So in that sense, it's kind of positive that some companies do, but I can't bring myself to do that.
So the people who want to be scrollers that believe the world is ending and we're all going to have robots go back in time and kill Miss Connors, what do you tell them?
And I deal with doom scrollers every day. I mean, right in the middle of class, I've got students that are doom scrolling on their mobile. I tell them to question everything they see. You can't go very far on whichever social media platform you come across without seeing something that is artificially created. So I tell people if you see something that scares you or see something that is of interest to you, make sure to find some credible sources that confirm what you've seen. A lot of the classes I teach, advanced classes, consumer behavior, I like third-year classes, and research. I teach the research, quantitative and qualitative analysis classes, and that's part of it. I mean, it's analyzing what you see, finding credible sources that you can confirm. If you're still not sure, then speak with someone about it. Someone who can speak on the subject with authority, someone you can confirm their background, their expertise. So, I mean, for basic things, it doesn't matter all that much. If it's an AI generated advertisement for beer or for, whatever, running shoes or something, then fine. If you want that, buy it. But if it's something more serious, like recently, I'm sure you saw all of the information being conveyed about that meteor that is headed short of 3i Atlas. I mean, it was, for a while, it had, a lot of this AI generated content had people believing that this was an alien spaceship, that it was actually backing up at some point, I think. Increasing in speed, slowing down, and so on. So, find some credible sources. Look at NASA. What is NASA saying about this meteor? So I think it's, critical thinking. I think that's what's needed.
It's strange. Like right now, AI is the topic, and we don't want to be hallucinated or have a fabrication. But I think back in the 1900s, someone typing something and going, "The world's flat," and then having someone go, "Well, yeah, that's right," and all of a sudden, other people sitting there going, "What was it, Copernicus who said it was round?" I'm taking a stab at the name, right? And then being called a heretic. When you're doing your marketing, you're talking about qualitative and quantitative research, though. So you're using AI to what's out there. How do you substantiate then that the information you're getting, especially if AI is driving the search? How do you ensure that it's yep, that's good because it could be from a source or sources. And someone said I heard it was rather interesting. Someone says, yeah, their source is quoted. Who are the sources? Right. And it takes me almost back to the time where someone was talking to his kids. Kids came home, said a story, and they say, where did the story come from? And where did that person get it? Or did they see it? Until you come back to the core, to the origin. How do you find that core, that origin point for your information?
Well, I think so I'll give you an example of using AI to do some market research. Recently, for a client out in Pembroke, the Ottawa Valley, this business wanted market research done it was a fairly new business, wanted to make sure that they were covering all of the territory that they should cover. So I would put 2 or 3 people on a project like that, and we'd do some research. It's a competition. Like, are there some blind spots? Are there spots that are not being served by this type of business? And I started out creating a prompt. As you probably know, you need to set the context when you're using artificial intelligence. So writing prompt, it's even called prompt engineering now. And so being able to write a very context-specific prompt, we send it out there. We use several AI tools, some of the basic ones, and just set it out there. And it came back with all of the competition, all of the other businesses that were in competition with this client of ours, and it identified an area that was not being served at particular time with this type of service. And but that was AI. So we still did, not as much work as we normally would have done. We still did our own analysis, but we weren't starting from scratch. We were starting from what AI told us. We were able to do it a lot faster. And the final result was that we gave the report to the client, and AI actually had identified competitors that he didn't know he had. And it identified an area where, in fact, that area was not being served by his type of service. And he decided to expand into that area. So we set out, we set the context very specifically, sent it out on several AI platforms, and then we just confirmed what AI had told us. We did our own research. So it still took us less time than if we hadn't used AI. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, basically you hired a librarian to go find you some stuff, and he said, "Librarian, here's the framework, and go for it."
Yeah, exactly. We sent it out to take a look, and it's quite amazing what it found. If that prompt is specific enough, and if the context is set correctly, then you'll find some amazing things. So that's one example of how we used it.
Bernard, I hear a lot about time saving in AI, and the illusion is that you're going to repurpose this time into being more productive. Are you finding that they are, or they use the time to go up more on solitaire? What is this repurposed time giving them?
Yeah, well, that's a question that I've been asking myself. It kind of reminds me, if I can allow myself to go back in time for a minute, and back in the 80s, I was engineering service. So I was given until that day, we did everything by hand, printed circuit boards, wiring harnesses, all of this. I had a team, people in my group working on drawing tables. And our parent company in Munich was using computer-aided design quite a bit. So here in Canada, they said, well, we need to come up to speed. So they gave me a budget. I think it was $50,000. And that bought one computer. It bought the software and it bought a plotter so that we could print out our drawings.
And not a 3D plotter, not a 3D
Not
printer.
a, no, not a 3D plotter. No. So I did that. I bought that. I sent one of my guys out for training, AutoCAD training. So we had one person out of the 15 working on CAD, and that scared the crap out of all of the other employees. And they all, one by one, they all knocked on my door, my office door, and said, Bernie, can I talk? And they said, are we going to be replaced? You're starting to put computer in. Are you going to replace us? Does that mean, will there be layoffs or what's going on? So no, that scare, you might remember that scare back in the 80s. Now I think is very similar. So I think first they need to learn how to use AI, but AI isn't human. I think there's what's missing, the emotion, the understanding of, human emotions. It doesn't have that. It can glean it from other information, but it can't perceive what people are probably feeling. Back to your question, Wayne, I think that's what people will be, I hope that's what they'll be focusing on, is use AI to take care of the stuff that is kind of no-brainer work, like generating content for social media publication. AI does a great job of that. But you can't copy paste what it has generated and simply publish it. You need to look at it and change some words and make it feel human, which it doesn't quite do at the moment. It may down the road, I suspect it will. But at the moment, I think that's where efforts can be redistributed towards that, making it feel right. Like understanding, in sales and marketing, I'm sure you're familiar with Maslow's theory of needs, right? Almost everybody is. And so whatever it is you're selling, like, what I tell my students is people don't buy what you're selling. They're buying why you sell it. So they're really, you need to understand the real reason people are buying things. And that AI, I think, isn't quite there yet. So that's, I think, hopefully where human power will be focused. Use AI to take care of the really nasty, no-brainer stuff, and focus our human brains on what really matters. That makes sense?
Are you going to find then, because think back to your AutoCAD scenario. So everybody used to draw it, et cetera. So the thought process of going from A to B to C and so forth down the pipe, you'd have to do certain things. And I agree, AI would help expedite that. Is there something lost in not doing it once by hand and then have automation pick up? I just almost like like a craftsperson, because if you're a singer, autotune might just not be might be your kind of the devil in the detail to get you fluffed through, right? Or is it just allow for it, or do you need that skill level, or do you need that skill level but only if you have to repair the machine?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that question, Bernie, because it's that point, right on point. I've even noticed it in myself, using AI a bit more than now. I mean, I need to know how it works, so I use it a fair bit. I find that I lose a bit of creativity. So I have to force myself to write by hand, but by brain, I guess. So I have to force myself to write on my own. And I see that in my students as well. They can put out some amazing, reports or the tasks that I give them. They give me some amazing results. But if I ask them to write it out in front of me, they can't do it. So absolutely, I think there is something lost. You need to understand how it's done. You need to do it at least once before. Another example that I'll use one thing I do research classes. Research is, well, it's quantitative analysis. So we use a lot of data and we do mathematical operations on it to extract information from that data. So things like, sum averages and standard deviations, for example. So you can ask AI to do that for you. It'll do a great job of it. But I need my students and everyone, you need to understand or to know how to calculate a standard deviation by hand, at least a couple of times. You need to know that the formula for standard deviation looks at every occurrence or every element in the data set, and it compares it to the average. And then it comes up at the end with a number that tells you how much, what the deviation is around the average. So if I don't show them how to do that calculation by hand at least once, they'll never fully appreciate what a standard deviation is. Make sense?
Absolutely. And just for our audience purposes, and I've taken my stats course, God bless. What is a standard deviation so folks understand that?
Sure. So if you look at a data set of, say, well, I'll give you an example. I have 30 students in my class, and I've got the marks that they achieved on an exam, for example. So some of them got 90%, some of them got 12, some of them 50, 60, 70, and so on. So if I calculate the average of that data set, it'll give me a number. But that number, an average, is affected by the extreme in the data set, right? So it doesn't really tell you much. But a standard deviation is the dispersion of all those numbers around the average. So if the average is 60% and the standard deviation is 20, that means that about 70% of my students got the average minus 20 plus 20. So the standard deviation is the dispersion of those numbers around the average. So if a standard deviation of 20 in that case is a horrible result, because that tells me that out of all those 30 students, some of them understood really well and some of them understood nothing, right? If the standard deviation was 5, then at least I know that, they all understood approximately the same way. The group is homogeneous, but with the standard deviation of 20, it's not homogeneous, and so there's a problem. It gives information about those results, and the problem might be me. Maybe it's that I didn't explain the concepts properly. Maybe it's that the students didn't study enough, but there is a problem. So that's what a standard deviation tells us. So, but they need to be able to calculate that at least once in their life to understand what it is. If they simply use AI, then it will give them a number, but they won't really be able to take that number and have it talk to them, have it give them information that will be useful so that they can take action based on that number. I wasn't intending to get into statistics or
No, it's okay.
Here, but
No, it's okay, and we're not going any further in statistics.
Okay.
So remember those classes in the evening for 3 hours. But no thanks.
It was in a podcast today. Somebody brought in a note taker, and I suggested that my note taker and their note taker could meet and we could go golfing. And they laughed and chuckled, ha ha ha. But so the biggest fear is creating content that on surface looks real, but has no substantive anything. How do you make sure stuff that you're putting out is both authentic and passes a smell test?
Well, you have to go through it. You have to read it. That's one error that a lot of people do, including my students, is that they will take AI and, well, first, so they'll take what AI gives them and they'll simply copy that into an exam, for example, as an answer, an exam answer. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to go through the content and look at it, read it, understand it, make sure that it does pass the smell test. In order to do that, you have to understand the basics of what it is of the question you're answering. And So that I hope answers your question, Wayne. Is you need to read through it. You can't just assume that it's going to be perfect. And that leads to one of my biggest worry with the up and coming students that I have is that they use AI to pass the class. And I try to teach them to use AI to help them understand better, but doesn't always come across.
This kind of spins us around the old principle, and this is going gathering data, independent of AI, garbage in, garbage out. If you're going to do a marketing push, what are the typical common flaws that people have or misconceptions people have? Because if I already have a skewed approach to something in my noodle, so to speak, and then I go, AI, help me push this through, right? It just means it'll just be a larger wrong answer. What are the people guardrails? Because if you start off with the person, right, and then you go to the AI, it's like, if I had a power tool, if I don't measure twice, and cut my board's too short, it's still too short. Doesn't matter what I do, unless of course I like making it look like a god awful project. How do you help people get their head straight in the marketing game in the first place?
Well, I think there's things that need to be understood, but basic fundamentals of marketing. We still teach, and I convey this to my customers as well. They need to understand what their customers really need. You can't ask AI to do that. So you need to do research. You need to do a proper market analysis. You need to understand consumer behavior. Why do people buy things? Like, what happens in their brain when they purchase things? What initially triggers her to obtain a product or obtain a service, and what will get them to engage with a company in order to buy that service or the product? So I think those fundamentals need to be understood, like the consumer behavior process and the product and service cycle process and how it evolves, and pricing. How do people react to different pricing strategies, and how to use them as well. So all of that needs to be understood before you can start using AI to help you with it. It's kind of like the analysis that we were talking about earlier. If you don't know what a standard deviation is, then how can you really honestly use it to give you information and base marketing actions on that information? So it's the fundamentals that have to be understood. Have to walk before you run, I guess, is what it comes down to.
So I've been at this a while now, and I remember the laser printer and Word Perfect. So the average letter could come out with less sticky whiteout on it, so that at least it communicated cleanly. The thing it didn't do is make the letter writing itself better. So now we had perfectly clean letters that were still garbage. What do you see? Is there an analogy there with AI where we're raising the bar for everyone, or is it just that we're now producing garbage much prettier?
Prettier garbage.
Lipstick on the swine. Yeah.
On the swine. Yeah. Yeah. You reminded me, Wayne, I remember I used to, back in the 80s again, we had this lady, Joanne, I think her name was, and she would type whenever I had to write a letter or even a memo, an internal memo, I would get Joanne to write it for me. And then all of a sudden, Word, or I think it wasn't called the Word back then, I forget what it was called, but it came up so I could write my own letters myself, but I was no good at it, right? I was fine at writing software and designing printed circuit boards. Writing letters was not in my wheelhouse. So I guess it's the same sort of thing. You have to. AI is a great tool, but you still need to have the basic knowledge that will help you get the message across, right? I have one student that comes to mind at the moment, and she is a lot of my students are international students, and she is from Algeria or somewhere Northern Africa, and she doesn't speak French very well. I teach in French. She speaks Arabic great. Her English isn't very good, and her French is she can't speak more than one or two complete sentences to me, and I usually have to have her repeat it. But she's delivering work that is just outstanding. But if I give her an oral exam, she can't do it. There's no way that she could do it. So, and that's what AI, that kind of proves your point, I guess, Wayne. Possible to create somewhat nice work, but she doesn't understand it. So you have to have that understanding. You have to have the knowledge base in whatever discipline you're active in.
For both sides, one group that says business people are going to spend more time being creative because they have the freedom. So everyone, the ship is going to raise everybody. The boat's going to, everyone's a raise. And the other person says, we're just going to make crap more accessible. And so that we'll just accept crap. Is the bar being raised for everyone, or are we just lowering our standards in corporate across the world?
Well, bar in terms of quick, being faster at delivering, you mean, or in the quality of the work?
Either, both.
Yeah. Well, I mean, business people need to concentrate on their business, right? And they need to they can use tools or be creative, but they still need to understand what it is they're creating. And a lot of business entrepreneurs don't necessarily understand everything in their business. The bar being raised across the board? I think it's perhaps more so in some areas. Certainly in sectors generating content, I think the bar is being raised for sure. I mean, you can see it in social media where the average Facebook post, for example, is much longer than it used to be. And it's more entertaining and has different tones to it. I'm sure you've seen social media posts now, and they all have these little icons. They're peppered with these little icons and images and emoticons and all that. That's AI that's putting those in there. So whenever you see that, that's an AI generated post, most likely. But it is well received by the public. And but so yeah, it's hard to say exactly, Wayne, without looking at a specific sector and how that sector will be affected. But the bar is being across the board.
So, what is your favorite set of AI tools? Which ones do you prefer playing with?
Yeah, I use just the basic ones that are available to everyone because and I also show my clients and my students how to use them if they don't already. So just ChatGPT obviously is a very common one. I use Copilots, Gemini, Grok. Grok is interesting, and I find that it's worth using all of them for the same purpose. So once I've engineered, to use a fancy term, a proper prompt, once I've set the context, then I give it to all of them and I see what I get back. Some of them are better at certain things than others. I find Grok is better at visual things, images. I mean, I admit recently we took my family, my entire family, my wife, my 4 kids, 9 grandkids, my 4 kids with their spouses. We took family photo. We were all nicely dressed for a wedding, so we took a nice family photo. And I put that, just a still image, and I put it in Grok, and I asked it to create 3 or 4 different versions of videos, animations using that image. And it came up with just some amazing stuff. I haven't got into like the other video creation tools. I do use CapCut a bit for social media work, and it has AI within it, which I've used as well. Canva, which you may know is used widely for creating images, graphics. It has AI components where you can just basically describe what you're looking for, and it'll kind of find it or create it for you. But those are the tools that I use, the basic ones, the ones that are available to everyone.
50 years ago, education was designed to make us better at putting nuts on bolts. So we got the most cars out the door by 5 o'clock. And then there were supervisors who actually told us how many bolts we were putting on how many nuts. If the people are there, and if the systems are there, and if the willingness is there, in 2 years, what breakthroughs do you see coming that will change how business is done rather than just how a minor component is done?
Boy, I think over the next 2 years, we're going to see some things that can't even imagine at the moment. I mean, this is a revolution. We talk about the major revolutions. There's the printing press, of course, which was the big one, and then the Industrial Revolution, and now AI, which is doing some amazing things. There's not much, Wayne, that we won't be able to automate years. The back office, work, the stuff you don't want to do, all of that will be able to do or be done by AI, so that hopefully humans can concentrate on more cerebral things related to human behavior. It's hard to imagine what this will look like in a couple of years, but I think we'll be surprised. Hopefully we'll be in a better place because of it. But the tedious tasks, those can be done. Analyzing, like some of the things that I have to do, quantitative analysis, analyzing thousands of records in a database. AI can do that in a fraction of the time that it takes me, which is a shame because I kind of enjoy doing it, actually. But then I can devote more time to other things. So maybe we'll all be much better at golf in 2 years.
As AI helps the golf down the fairway much better, how far and how to swing, right?
Yeah,
And put
well,
little sensors on you.
if I could plug AI into my golf bag, I'd probably give it a shot.
So in your daily routine, or perhaps even better yet, for a business in their daily routine, how can they leverage AI? Where should they plug it in, knowing whether it's in routine, the mundane, but was it mundane operational or mundane with the client base? Where should they plug in? What is kind of the low hanging fruit that most people either miss or should capitalize on?
Yeah. I think it's we talked about generating letters, content, operations manuals, instruction manuals, that sort of thing. I think AI can do that quite well. So I think we want to focus AI on those tasks and remembering that we still need to understand the fundamentals, but it to get rid or to eliminate, if you will, or to expedite those mundane tasks. I mean, I'm sure maybe you've used it. You can have AI just write a reply to any email. It proposes it to you, right? The emails I received from you, Bernie, it without asking, AI proposed the reply. I always look at those to see how well it does, and it does pretty darn well, actually, at capturing every sentiment in the email and offering an appropriate reply. So I think those things can be used, or that could be one use that will save some time for people. But gosh, at this point, you still need to read through it. I mean, don't take it for granted. You still need to look at it and make sure that it's appropriate.
You said something really interesting. That's something you were going to be able to do in an hour that used to take you 8 hours that you're really sad you're not doing because you really enjoyed doing it. Are we going to be much more productive and much less happy?
Maybe. I hadn't thought of that. Hopefully we'll come up with something else to make us happy. I mean, working does give us purpose. It lets us achieve things, gets us up in the morning, I think. It does for so hopefully we won't be unhappy. I'm hopeful that we'll generate our needs for being needed towards other things that will still fulfill us as humans.
Give us a takeaway. Give us something you hope we learned in the last hour that they can go and implement in their lives.
I think if the takeaways would be, don't take everything. Use AI for sure. Learn the tools. Learn, because you're going to get lost in the dust if you don't learn the tools. You need to learn it, but we also need to question, or at least analyze, what it provides as a product, as a result. We need to be, I guess, a devil's advocate towards what AI provides us, and just question it. Still use critical thinking, but definitely learn the tools. Make sure you've got the fundamentals. Don't get into a business where you don't understand the fundamentals, thinking, and I see this so much now, right? I'm sure you've seen it as well. Become an AI professional. Marketing is an easy one. So there's courses that you can pay for, obviously, and become an expert marketer. Yesterday, maybe you were digging ditches or whatever, doing something else, but now, using AI, you can become an expert marketer. Well, not so much. You still need that fundamental understanding of what it is to be a good marketing expert. Understand the fundamentals before you get into anything. Definitely use and learn and use the AI tools, and use it to your own benefit.
You have a couple things you want to promote here. Launchpad Creative and
Yeah.
We Care Focus. Swing the yard arm over to you and just talk about that, and then wrap us up. How do we reach you, and how do we connect with you?
Awesome. All right. So so those two things. The Launchpad first is sort of an informal thing that I'm working on now. Because of the AI, and because, I'm sure you guys remember, your first job interview, and they ask you, well, what kind of experience do you have? Well, I don't have any experience because I just graduated. Oh, well, we're looking for someone with experience. So that's always been there. It still is. So there's that hurdle of finding the first job for my students. AI doesn't help with that, because, as we said earlier, the jobs being replaced are the entry level jobs. So my students, unfortunately, get jobs as couriers or working at McDonald's or that sort of thing. So, and some of them are quite good. They're really good. So Launchpad is an initiative that I'm using to find projects where I can hire my students on a contract basis. I pay them, and I manage the projects, and I offer these services to customers. And at the moment, we have 3 or 4 clients where we're doing this sort of things. So and because it's students, I am able to charge less. It's less expensive for people to get whatever it is: websites, marketing strategy, social media management, that sort of thing. So it's sort of a win-win for everyone involved. And eCare Focus is another entity that I've been involved with for some time, with Mike. You might know Mike Volotsky. I'm sure you know Mike Volotsky, actually. And Bob McDonald, who kind of took it over now. And We Care Focus is a distracted driving education company. So what they do, and that's it. Mike is the creator of We Care Focus, and Mike was in the repair shop business for a long time, and he saw a lot of ridiculous accidents and needless accidents. So We Care Focus, he's put together a resource guide that we can download off of We Care Focus, and it can be downloaded for free using the I Will Focus, one word, no spaces, I Will Focus. Use that, and you can download the resource guide for free. And it's tips and tricks on how to not be distracted when you're driving. And the main culprit, of course, is the mobile phone. We see it every day. All right. So that's We Care Focus. Launchpad is, if anyone out there needs, whether it's web design, whether it's social media, marketing strategies, research, whatever, you can reach me at Boum Strategies. And that's probably the best way to reach me, actually, is boomstrategies.com.
Excellent. Well, sir, Bernie Charlebois, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners, thank you. And you know what? If you're kind of curious about how to turn your complex marketing strategies into something that goes a little smoother, leveraging AI, but at the same time not getting a lot of cluster or clutter in the story, so you can stay focused and be true to what you want to do, reach out to Bernie. And also the we care focus component. It's important not to be distracted. Otherwise, that's where things start going up in costs, both in property and human life.
Everything you heard today is for educational purposes only. It's not professional advice. Before you act on anything, talk to a certified expert in your area. Your accountant, your lawyer, someone who knows your situation. We share perspectives. You make the decisions. Want more? Head over to blog.knack4business.com, packed with practical episodes on AI, marketing, leadership, and growth. No fluff, just the good stuff. Subscribe while you're there. Until next time, keep building.
Life.